Not so warm welcome to everyone joining us from all over the world here at the beautiful Slovakia Ring. We are definitely getting ready for the start of race number 4 here at the Slovakia Ring. I say not so warm because the sun has disappeared behind the clouds and we are getting ready for the final race with very strong wind actually on the starting grid. Of course, our drivers that have qualified for the grand final of this weekend here at the Slovakia Ring for Formula 4 Central European Zone are ready for this wind, ready for the final race, and it's definitely time to look at his starting grid. Teo Borenstein starts on pole position. He has dominated this weekend so far. He's got pole position, 1 race 1 and 1 race 3. He's been untouchable so far this weekend. Can he make it 3 out of 3? We'll find out in due course. Of course, we have plenty of drivers trying to take that place away from him. First of all, David Walther finished second in both races he's entered this weekend, and he is once again lining up on the front row of the grid. It's P2 for David Walther and Maffi Racing. In third position, we have Rechenmacher from Cram Motorsport. He was so close to winning in race number 1, then finally took the win in race number 2. Can he go 2 for 3? We'll find out very soon. Watch out, of course, from 4th position, Elia Weiss, the championship leader. He is ready to fight for another podium place and maybe to keep the championship lead. We're ready here at the Slovakia Ring for the final race of Formula 4 Central European Zone in this 3rd round of the season. See you in a bit in the commentary booth. Back in the commentary booth for the 4th and final race of Formula 4 CEZ here at the Slovakia Ring. The 3rd round of the season is ready to come to a close with this final race. We have only the best of the best from this weekend on the starting grid. Of course, having plenty of entries. We have a revised 4-race format that only sees the top 32 drivers qualify for the grand final. Here with Bennett Gaspar on the starting grid. The Hungarian racing for Jenzer Motorsport was in the points in his 2nd race yesterday, and he was therefore able to qualify for this final. We have basically every driver that is fighting for the championship out here today. After, of course, having them divided into 3 different groups, we couldn't see the real values out on track against one another. Meanwhile, we're making our way up the grid and up the order towards the very top, which means that we are getting closer to the the first few rows of the starting grid. And as we said before, Teo Borenstein will line up on pole position. He has been the man to beat this weekend. The Jenzer Motorsport driver taking pole position with the fastest overall time in qualifying, as well as the 2 race wins in the 2 races that he's participated in, taking home winning spoils in races 1 and 3. But let's have a look at the starting grid then. Teo Borenstein and David Walther on the front row, with Simon Rechenmacher and Elia Weiss in 3rd and 4th. Max Karhan and Mikas Shilkunas in the 3rd row of the grid, with Dean Pedersen and Erik Poulsen in 7th and 8th, respectively. Antonio Rigo and Alexander Bogunovic round out the top 10. For race number 4 here at the Slovakia Ring, we have, as we said before, 29 cars ready to start, with Georgi Zhazov and Ela Hakkinen on the 6th row, David Goršica, Matilda Paz and Victor Snemier Poulsen rounding out the top 15. That is, of course, the points-paying positions. Then Stefan Tranecki, Jorge Luis Bruno, Andreas Lebue, Miroslav Kepak and Igor Polak in the top 20. Alexander Loza, Michalina Sabai, Bennett Gaspar, František Nemec, Leo Nielsen, Alexia Danielson, Tobias Paschko, Thomas Rudokas, and last but not least, Nikolai Dirved in 29th place to round out the grid for race number 4. The very final bit of on-track action for F4 CEZ in the 3rd round of the season, after visiting 2 Austrian tracks in the Red Bull Ring and the Salzburgring. We have been back on one of the tracks that is loved most by drivers, of course, the Slovakia Ring, featuring plenty of memorable moments throughout its history here at the Slovakia Ring. And as the green flag is waved, we are getting ready to see the formation lap. The cars now move from the starting grid, and we are ready to enjoy these first few laps of the Slovakia Ring. Starting from pole position is Teo Borenstein, the driver from Jenzer Motorsport. Is in fact starting from P1, and of course he will be looking to make it 3 for 3. He has won the previous 2 races starting from pole, and therefore he has all the road in front of him clear to try and take the 3rd consecutive win. Though of course David Walther will be more than capable of stopping him. He was this close to taking victory in race number 2, though unfortunately for him he was overtaken on the very final lap from Simon Rechenmacher, as the German will once again challenge for the win. He starts from 3rd position in this 4th and final race. Elia Weiss, the championship leader, is on the other hand starting in 4th. His gap over David Walther just 2 points in the championship standings after race number 3. So everything is still up for grabs this weekend. Will we have a new championship leader, or will Elia Weiss bounce back to take the lead once more? This morning Weiss missed out on the podium for the very first time this season, finishing in 4th place, with Dean Pedersen taking that honor. He was definitely among the quickest though, so we'll see whether or not he will be able to take that position. Naturally, of course, this track is known for its overtaking opportunities, not just at the end of the main straight into turn 1, but of course throughout the lap as well. Turn 10 is the slowest part of the circuit and has been a prime overtaking spot throughout this season. Naturally, of course, turn 10 being one of the big braking zones on this track, plus the drivers having sort of the Constantine effect of slowing down with cars in front of them I mean, that is the perfect recipe for an overtake. But we are lining up for the start of race number 4. You can see a hugely wide main straight, making for great on-track action, of course, throughout this weekend and throughout the history of the Slovakia Ring that has started ever since the track broke ground in 2009. But we are so ready to see race number 4. The green flag is about to be waved by the marshals at the tail end of the grid, and the 5 lights will come on. Teo Borenstein on the right of your screens, David Walther on the left. It's lights out, we are underway, and immediately we see the drivers race towards turn number 1, and immediately does our race leader Teo Borenstein close the door towards turn number 1. It was a good getaway from Elia Weiss as well, who was already up into 2nd position. But look at the outside line where David Walther is, as it is usually the quickest line through turn number 1 for Formula 4 cars, and that is why Walther has stayed into 2nd position and is now challenging Teo Borenstein for the lead around the outside of turn number 2, as the cars try to find some space out on track. Who will be the bravest on the braking towards turn number 3? Drivers look to be evenly matched as they basically all go wide through turn number 3. So drivers such as Elia Weiss and Max Karhan lose a couple of places. Meanwhile, there's a car off, but they seem to be rejoining pretty nicely. So no real issues so far. But in front is Teo Borenstein, just ahead of David Walther. And I think Simon Rechenmacher was fighting for 3rd, together with Dean Pedersen and Elia Weiss. But a good getaway from Teo Borenstein, who had to defend hard in turn number 3 from David Walther, but he did so brilliantly. Meanwhile, here are the overtaking moves that we were talking about into turn 10, and that is one of the Jenzer Motorsport cars of Max Karhan, number 144, taking 5th place from Markas Šilkunas. Meanwhile, we are going towards turn 13, and David Walther has actually moved into 1st. Not seen by the cameras, he has overtaken Teo Borenstein and is now leading the race. So we have a change of lead, and for the first time this weekend, Teo Borenstein is not leading, and he could well truly not be in 2nd position after turn number 1, because he's now under attack from Simon Rechenmacher, as the German now goes to the outside of turn number 1. We've seen it plenty of times this weekend, with the outside line being the better and most optimal line through the corner. Has Simon Rechenmacher taken the place? Yes, he has. He is up into 2nd position, Borenstein down to 3rd, and David Walther has disappeared in front of the field. Meanwhile, Elia Weiss and Max Karhan are fighting for 4th in this gaggle of 6 cars, as Weiss tries to go around the outside as well on Rechenmacher and Borenstein, as the 3 almost make contact with the 3 Jenzer Motorsport teammates, fighting long and hard about 3rd, 4th and 5th, with I think Borenstein dropping all the way down to 5th position, if my eyes serve me correctly, though of course it is quite hard to see that, as the 2 now go side by side. Elia Weiss now retaking the place over Max Karhan, and Borenstein has in fact kept 3rd position. Here is the American Dean Pedersen with car number 9 attacking Markas Šilkunas for 7th position. Very entertaining start of the race, of course, with the 2 Jenzer teammates still side by side, and the same goes for Pedersen and Enrico for 8th position, and ahead of them Bogunovic together with Šilkunas. Very enticing 2nd lap of the race that has gone the way of David Walther, who is now leading in front of Simon Rechenmacher. Meanwhile, Jenzer Motorsport is down into 3rd, and now Elia Weiss losing vital ground. Meanwhile, off goes Alexander Bogunovic. He was fighting with Weiss for what was 5th position, but car number 86 had the worst outcome, and so the Slovenian has to rejoin at the back of the pack, as Elia Weiss is instead now struggling to keep up with the top 4. Meanwhile, an overtake from Matilda Paz. She is up into 10th position, overtaking Georgi Zazov. The other Jenzer Motorsport entry, just so side by side, with Paz on the inside into turn 2 and then into turn 3. We've seen it plenty of times, however, the overtakes coming from the outside line, more so into turn 1 than turn 3, I might say, because after turn 3, of course, the drivers kind of try to close the door on their rivals, and Matilda Paz does exactly that, proving my point, as she keeps 9th position. Meanwhile, up top, David Walther with the fastest lap of the race, and a 1.4 second gap over Simon Rechenmacher, and 2.2 seconds on Teo Borenstein. Walther has basically transformed into a new man this weekend, though he was already super competitive at the Red Bull Ring, winning twice in 3 races. But compared to the first 2 races he's entered, he now looks more compelling and competitive than ever. Meanwhile, a lockup from, I think that is Victor Poulsen, as Ella Hakkinen has now moved herself into the top 12. The McLaren Junior. Meanwhile, someone is off into the gravel, possibly at the exit of turn 12. You can see how strong the wind is by how the gravel was basically traveling towards the start-finish straight, and I think we might have some very strange conditions on the starting straight, and that is exactly it, with the gravel being thrown in the air and then traveling with the wind towards the pit boxes. Meanwhile, that is Andreas Lobue in the Renauer Motorsport entry, whereas here we are with Antonio Rigo fighting with Erik Poulsen, and behind them Georgi Zazov looking to do the same. They almost got 3 wide into turn number 3, but that is not the case. Still side by side are Antonio Rigo and Erik Poulsen, with Rigo on the left hand side of the racetrack, and on the inside line Erik Poulsen will have the better traction out of the corner, and in fact he takes the position. Meanwhile, the incident involving 2 cars, Elia Weiss and Bogunovic, will be investigated after the race. Meanwhile, out of the race goes Matilda Paz. Her car is missing its rear wing, which is on the other side. You can see the frustration of the German. She has probably been tagged, given how easily the rear wing has come off. And therefore, Matilda is unfortunately out of the race, and the safety car is out on track. This will be an easy recovery for the stewards, but it is of course mandatory that a safety car comes out in situations like these. Not the end of the weekend that Matilda Paz was hoping for. You can see she is furious about this accident that put her out of contention. Gonna have to wait for a replay to see what's happened, but she is out, and there's another car, and that is, I think, car number 88, David Gorczyca. You can clearly tell that Matilda Paz is not happy with what happened with the Yannick Motorsport driver, as the Czech now looks a bit distraught himself. I don't think it will be an easy task to calm Matilda Paz down after what could only be a contact between the 2 cars. We'll be having to wait, though, to understand what's happened. Though the information that we have is that they're both out of the race. The stewards having to work overtime to not just recover the car, but also to calm the paths down. But yeah, the safety car is now out on track. You can see the two cars stranded on what is turn number 8, the short left-hander in the second sector, as the recovery truck now takes Matilda Patz's F4 car, bringing it to safety. You can see now a replay, and yes, there's been contact between the two of them, with David Gorczyca tapping the back of Matilda Paz. He really tried to put his car in a space that really wasn't there, and therefore the two of them are out. And you can see them going at it again. She's definitely not happy, let's put it that way, but it is very understandable, of course, given that they both were trying to push as hard as possible. Naturally, Matilda feels like she is not to blame, and honestly, it's hard to see it differently, given that she had her entire car basically on the inside curb, and Gorczyca wasn't even alongside her rear tires. But yeah, unfortunately not the ending that both of them wanted in this race. Matilda Paz therefore finishes her streak of 7 consecutive races in the points-paying positions. She will unfortunately have to retire from this one. She has had torrid luck this weekend. She was hit out of second position in race number 1, then recovered to 14th place from last on the grid after the safety car. She was fighting for the win in race 1 before, of course, Simon Rechenmacher tapped her rear wing and spun her around at the safety car restart. And then now, of course, this accident that put her out of contention, with David Gorczyca being now under investigation together with Matilda Paz for said accident. Gorczyca too was very good this year, consistency-wise, always finishing in the top 11, only missing out on the third race at the Red Bull Ring, where he failed to start, but every race he started, he has finished in the points. Of course, that streak comes to a close now, together with Matilda Paz's, as they're both out of contention. But the safety car is still out. We are watching the replay now of the accident, and yeah, you can clearly see what happened. The two of them coming together into turn number 8, unfortunately putting a premature end to both of their races. So we will be waiting for official confirmation from the stewards when the safety car will be coming in, which will tell us when we are restarting. It is very likely to be this lap, however. We're still waiting, which means that we'll have to just take a look at what happens out on track. Safety car is still out, and David Walther is continuing to try and put his tires in the right temperature window. Car number 7 leading the pack, just ahead of Simon Rechenmacher and Teo Borenstein, the Jenzer Motorsport driver, dropping from 1st to 3rd on lap 2 of this race. Meanwhile, here is Antonio Rigo, the Italian, trying his luck in the Formula 4 Central European Zone Championship. He is currently 13th in the driver standings. Not the highest placed Italian, as Francesco Pio Coppola has that honor. Coppola, however, has had a very torrid time this weekend, retiring from race number 2 and finishing just in 22nd position in race number 1. Therefore, he has failed to qualify for this final. Meanwhile, the safety car is in at the end of this lap. As you can clearly see, it has turned its lights off. And we are therefore ready to start green flag racing once more with a little over 10 minutes remaining. David Walther will keep first position. Second place belongs to Simon Rechenmacher, whereas Teo Borenstein is in third. Let's see when David Walther decides to go for it. We saw many drivers wait until the middle part of turn number 13 before pulling the trigger, and he's done so right now at the entry of the corner, trying to take Simon Rechenmacher by surprise. And he has definitely done so, as there's been an issue with Rechenmacher, probably as he has slowed down massively, and we are under green flag conditions once more, but definitely not the start that Rechenmacher wanted. Maybe contact between two drivers, as he is definitely slowing down almost to a halt, but David Walther has flown away in this safety car restart, with Teo Borenstein now being put back up into second position, with Dean Pedersen and Max Karhan right behind. Watch out also for Elia Weiss, though he has lost a couple of places because of that. He was directly behind, and in fact there is one of the Jenzer cars with a broken front wing, suggesting that contact was made somewhere, and I think that may be our championship leader. This is Teo Borenstein together with Dean Pedersen. But no, that may be Max Karhan, who has dropped tremendously down the order. We'll see in just a few seconds. But David Walther has said, thank you very much, I'll take this lead and run away with it, with Teo Borenstein in second position and third place belonging to Dean Pedersen, though now fourth place sees a battle between Marcus Silkunas and championship leader Elia Weiss. Confirmation that he was Max Karhan who damaged his front wing. This is Borenstein together with Dean Pedersen. Who are fighting for second position, and this, the gap that David Walther has created over his rivals, a huge one at that. Meanwhile, still some gravel being lifted up into turn 12. This, the gaggle of cars fighting for the final few points paying positions, and that is Bennett Gaspar going up the inside of not one but two cars, getting a couple of positions. That is, on the other hand, one of the black livery cars going through the grass into turn 14, but thankfully rejoining the circuit in good manners. But unfortunately, yeah, I think Simon Rechenmacher has completely dropped out of this race. Such a shame for the German. It wasn't to be today for the entire nation, as Matilda Paz was also taken out a couple of laps ago. Meanwhile, a three-way fight towards turn number 3 with a couple of lockups, as the drivers try to find as much space as possible. Meanwhile, Antonio Rigo had a little off into turn 4, dropping 2 places, as Elia Weiss and Marcus Silkunas have moved into 4th and 5th now. This is Bennett Gaspar, on the other hand, in 14th position. Now under attack from Alexia Danielson, as he is behind Alexandre Loja, the Brazilian. David Walther has increased his lead in front, a 3.8 seconds gap over Teo Borenstein, then 4.3 seconds on Dean Pedersen. He has definitely benefited from that contact that was pretty much unavoidable at that point. For what was the fight for second position, and now sees Simon Rechenmacher out of the race, unfortunately. But the fighting still continues, of course, given how strong the wind is. That will be another factor, of course, especially towards turn number 1. Meanwhile, David Walther's pace seems to be in a class of its own. He's just set the fastest lap with a 2-minute 4.035, 5/10 quicker than Teo Borenstein, 7/10 quicker than DM Pedersen, and 8/10 quicker than championship leader Elia Weiss. He is on a tear at the moment. Definitely not what the rest of the field was expecting, and of course that safety car restart helped massively with his ambitions of taking the win. Teo Borenstein is still comfortably in second position with Dean Pedersen in third. Meanwhile, a fight between Jorge Bruno and Andres Lobue for 10th position, and Elia Hakkinen right behind them, as the McLaren Junior looks to gain a couple of spots. And that is the fight for the tail end of the top 10 and the points paying position. Down the inside goes Elia Hakkinen out of nowhere on Andres Lobue, and there's contact between the two of them. Lobue rejoins the circuit, whereas Elia Hakkinen has to go the long way through the tire barriers and will now be rejoining the track, though she has lost plenty of time, I believe. That is very unfortunate, of course, but she will have to do it all over again in just 3.5 minutes. Lobue now having to settle in once more as he now fights for the final few points paying positions. He's in 16th and has to recover towards Stefan Trenensky in front. Definitely not what he was looking for, however. Such a shame for both Lobue and Elia Hakkinen. It was a very last minute dive from the Finn. As she has now rejoined the track in 24th position. Meanwhile, having a look at the top of the standings, nothing has changed. David Walther, Teo Borenstein and DM Pedersen in the top 3. Championship leader Elia Weiss in 4th and Marcus Silkunas in 5th. Great race from Georgi Zhazov. He's gone up to 6th position. That is by far his best so far this weekend. And as we move closer to what will be the final lap of this race, the fight could still begin in the fight for 6th position between Zhazov and Erik Poulsen. Naturally, of course, we will be checking for potential penalties throughout this race, but so far all good. Of course, a couple of incidents have been noted and currently are under investigation. Meanwhile, we are about to start the final lap with David Walther, who has dominated this race after the safety car restart. He was, of course, quite lucky with that incident behind him. We're still unsure about what happened, but he is, in fact, still in the lead and has just started the final lap of this race. As we now move closer to the very final stages of race number 4, David Walther, of course, with this win would also take the lead of the championship, and that would be a phenomenal end to the weekend for him. Meanwhile, battles still ongoing at the tail end of the points paying positions, which of course will be what interests our drivers. As now we go towards the second sector. David Walther has been absolutely untouchable in this race. The gap now over 4 seconds on Teo Borenstein, who after taking 2 victories this weekend will have to settle possibly for second position in the grand final. Whereas in third place, Dean Pedersen has really come to terms with his potential, and he has been fantastic this weekend. After joining the series at the Salzburgring, he has taken a podium place in race number 3 with third, and he's about to do the same here in the final. As we now move towards the very last couple of corners, with David Walther, Maffi Racing has come to the 2026 Formula 4 CEZ Championship with high hopes, and it will leave the third round of the season and the first half of this 2026 campaign with the championship lead in the driver standings, as David Walther wins the 4th race at the Slovakia Ring and is the new championship leader after the third round of the 2026 season. Second place for Teo Borenstein, who completes a near perfect weekend, whereas third position goes to Dean Pedersen. Another podium place for the American, who has done a great job to claim that result. It was fantastic showing from all of our drivers, but especially from this man, David Walther, putting Maffi Racing up top once more, as the Swiss outfit is now leading the Drivers' Championship thanks to the Dane and his third win of the season and 8th consecutive podium in as many races he's entered. That is phenomenal from David Walther, who has worked tremendously well this weekend. And as the cars make their way towards the pit lane and Parc Fermé, Walther will be getting ready to celebrate, of course, this sensational win. Teo Borenstein was in second position. I mean, 2 race wins as well as a second place. He cannot be mad about it. He's definitely one of the great winners from this weekend, and the same cannot be said for Elia Weiss, who has dropped to 4th in this race and out of the championship lead, but still in the fight, of course. Here are the results of the 4th and final race of FIA Formula 4 Central European Zone from the 3rd round here at the Slovakia Ring. Now the series goes on a bit of a break, and we'll see you guys in Most in August for round 4 of the championship. That is all from me. Thank you for being with us. This is, of course, the final results from this 4th and final race. Thank you for joining us, and see you guys in Most.